Most analysts believe that an end to the war will not bring an end to the conflict. They speak of an acceptable political solution that has to be arrived upon to satisfy the legitimate aspirations of the Tamil people. If the current rate of killings, displacement and destruction continues, it might not be soon before the only aspiration of the Tamil people will be to live through a day without fear of being bombed. Is the government of Sri Lanka following a scorched earth policy in the Tamil homeland, so that any proposal it puts out for a political solution will be deemed acceptable for the Tamil people?
This is a long-term conflict. It's not a short-term conflict, and it requires a deeper reflection on the actual issue. Artificial, short-term, media savvy solutions are not going to work, right? I mean, what requires is a much deeper thought, digging deeper, and looking at a sustainable long-term solution to the conflict. If the expectation is that people will accept what they could have had 25, 30 years ago, at this point, I think the government may be wrong. And it doesn't really bode well to their intention towards a lasting peace in the region. And equally, I think, to the international community, if they think that a short-term, short-sighted solution will work, I think they would be mistaken in supporting something like that, because this is a much more complex problem than what the government may be thinking.
Many of the internally displaced people are forced to displace many times due to the ever-changing battlefront lines and intruding warplanes. The young are unable to attend schools or to learn trades. The people who plied trades such as farming and fishing that were handed down to them by their ancestors are unable to hand it down to the next generation, because the lands and the seas that they plied their trade upon is suddenly no longer theirs. Many of the displaced who escaped the shores to India and beyond also languish in refugee camps in subhuman conditions. They are unlikely to aspire for human excellence while not knowing from. Could it be that the government of Sri Lanka wants to ensure, if and when the Tamil people do gain political autonomy, they will not be able to prosper as a people and succeed in nation building?
Sri Lanka as a whole has been dependent on foreign aid, right? Without foreign aid, the country would have collapsed. The economy would have collapsed a long time ago. And I think there needs to be a greater. You need to look at the economic opportunities that Sri Lanka missed out on in the last 15-20 years. If you look at India, if you look at China, if you look at the growth in these regions, the giant tigers as they're called, I think that's a missed opportunity that the island, it's really missed the boat on that. But at the same time, the people who are displaced, whether as diaspora living in the West or those who are displaced in different parts of the country, especially the Tamil community, I think what they need is the opportunity. Right? What they need is their rights to be protected, their freedom to basically do what they want to do, their liberty to build their lives, right? I don't think the Tamil community is asking for a handout. I don't think they're asking for international aid. I don't think we're asking for schools to be built. I think this community is strong enough to do that themselves. I think this community is strong enough to look after itself. What it's looking for is really the freedom to do that. And that may, once that's achieved, then in terms of what needs to be done, whether it's the university, like strengthening the universities, other vocational training, business opportunities, I think the community, whether it's within the island or outside, I think will step up. And I think there's indications even during the ceasefire period, there's a lot of interest from people in the diaspora who have gone and looked at opportunities, right? There's Malaysian Tamils who have a strong connection to the island. I've met with a number of them recently, and there's a great desire to sort of build, to build and to contribute to the growth of the community. But it can't happen within this type of a system that exists right now with this type of oppression going on. It's very difficult to do.
But I don't think that the government of Sri Lanka can come up with any solution. I mean, if they have the will, if they have their political will to come up with a reasonable solution, they would have come up with a reasonable solution a long time ago. But time and again, what really happened in Sri Lanka is that every single successive government that came to power, they were and they are still not willing to come to terms with the national question, with the rights of the Tamils. So I don't think they will ever come up with any kind of reasonable solution to the Tamil question.
There's hardly any disagreement on the fact that government of Sri Lanka is bent on a genocidal plan and a genocidal pattern which the government has been implementing by different phases. And I'm sure there is some plan that is at the backdrop which is moving forward from their side. But if and when a new nation is born, a new nation will have, and I'm truly frightened that in the new nation there will be far more challenges, and the problems will be much more. I mean, the problems will be not only numerically more, but the problems will be also extremely difficult and will not be easy to start the process of nation building without the cooperation of all. Because we will have a population that is emaciated, a population that is physically, psychologically, personally, physiologically, socially, mentally, intellectually, and in every other form you can name it, is weak, and deaf, and economically, of course. Then we have an environment also. See, what has been neglected in this whole process is there's an enormous amount of environmental destruction that is taking place. The kind of bombs they are using are in fact a serious violation of international norms. Now, I do know there are countries which are supplying military weapons and particularly bombs to test them. See, for example, India and Pakistan or India and China have not fought any wars in the last 25 years. But their arms manufacture or the arms race, the production has increased in manifold. So most of the new weapons are being tried in Sri Lanka. And this is forbidden by international treaties. Same thing I would say also with some other countries which supply arms to Sri Lanka. Now, all tried in the Tamil land, a land which is already arid, already without much vegetation and so on. And the flora and fauna has been all destroyed, we know, in our country. And therefore, the challenges that the new nation would face are innumerable. Okay? And these are Himalayan challenges, I would say. But we all who are living outside have a task in joining this nation building process. With all humility and with all human kindness, I think we should help and contribute towards building a new nation. And if we remain alive, and I hope the Tamil consciousness would continue to nurture it, that we would all, in some form, in whatever way we can afford, should support the building of the new country for our people and for our children's children.
Whatever the Sri Lankan government's reason may be, how long will it be before it succeeds? Or how long will it be before it realizes it will not succeed?